Hi everybody and welcome to my webinar. Now I'm doing this webinar to help those of you who are going through a really tough time right now. Thank you for registering. If you've registered online and you are in the webinar, it means that you can ask questions. I do have a lot of questions that people have sent in already, so I'm going to work through those. But if you do have questions that come up, please do ask. I'm here for you. We've got an hour, because at 8 o'clock, I'm sure we're all going to go out and clap for the NHS. So I want to give you as much help and support as I can for this webinar right now. So I'm going to crack on with your questions, but please know that this is here. I'm here for you, okay? This is my way of giving you the support and the advice you need during these really difficult times, because breakups are super tough. No matter what, if things are good, breakups are really tough, right? And so you're going to struggle going through a breakup at the best of times. So now with isolation, with the coronavirus, with all the restrictions that we're going through and we're having to manage, it is even harder, okay? Because we're already living in a world with anxiety and stress around the breakup, okay? So if you're going through a breakup, you've already got that. And now on top of that, you've got added stress and worry, because you've got everything that you're going through with your breakup, with the COVID-19, the isolation, being away from people, not being able to connect with them. So that's why there is so much anxiety around at the moment. I know some of you aren't sleeping at night. I know some of you are having panic attacks. I know some of you are just feeling sad. I know some of you are just scared for the future. So please do drop your questions in the chat section underneath, either the chat section or the Q&A section, but I will be able to get to those. So do pop them up and I will do my best to get to them. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of the questions we've got. I'm going to read them out anonymously, with first names only, but that means that the people that have sent them in, you'll recognize your question, I hope. Okay, so Carol says that thank you for doing a webinar and offering to help others in my situation. I was married to what I know now was a covert narcissist for 27 years. He would be nice and caring at times, but when I became ill, needing several surgeries and to give up my job, he changed. When I was in hospital having major surgery, I found out he was seeing someone else, and after that he left me totally alone, emptying my bank accounts and changed all the utilities to my name. He said after living with her for 9 months that he never loved her, but they get on well and she's healthy. I found out he had lots of debts and even took out a lot in my own name, and I lost my house and everything. I'm now in sheltered accommodation on disability. Thankfully, I'm near my children and grandchildren. My question is that it's been 2 years since he left, 2 years. And I have anxiety and PTSD because of his financial and emotional abuse. And I cry every day. I don't understand why I still miss him. I'm even jealous of the other women, which makes no sense, as he's no prize. But I feel he was horrible to me, but will be lovely to her. I get obsessive thoughts of them together being happy and loved up whilst I'm alone at 58. Well, will the obsessive thoughts ever go away? I am heartbroken. So look, I mean, again, these stories are, and they're all going to be super sad. Okay, so for those of you here, thank you for joining me. But this is going to be tough, some of these stories, and obviously that is a really tough story there, Carol, that you shared with us, so thank you for that. So quite often what we find is that I'm just trying to see when he left here. I'm just trying to think. So he was married, it's 2 years. Okay, so 2 years on, she's still feeling this way. Okay, so she's asking me why she feels like this now, 2 years on. She's got anxiety and PTSD. Now, these are all normal reactions, okay? And guys, a lot of the advice I'm giving will apply to your situation, your question too. So just because I am giving answer to this question doesn't mean it's not applicable. It will be applicable, and some of these things I'll say, remember what I said in that answer, because I've got so many questions to go through, and some of the advice will echo with your situation. So quite often we get stuck after a breakup because we don't have a focus apart from what's gone on in our sad story. And I don't say sad, the word sad, to diminish what's going on, because obviously it is a sad situation. These are really tough times and can be really challenging. But the fact that our focus is still there means it's all we see. Okay, so let's play a bit of a game, guys. Okay, so let's play along with me, okay? So I want you to just take 10 seconds and look around the room you're in and notice everything that's red. Okay, everything that's red. I want you to look around your room and focus on everything that's red. Okay, just look everywhere, 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 everything that's red in your room. Ready? Okay, now I want you to shut your eyes and just tell me everything that's green. You see, what happens is what you focus on, you see more of. And if you're not focusing on certain things, you're not going to see them. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you're focusing on your breakup and your sad story, you're just going to see more of your breakup and your sad story and feel worse. It's going to magnify those feelings. Okay, so this is human nature. This is what we do. We shift our focus and we focus on things intently because we haven't got a way out. We kind of get stuck. Now, the reason we don't have a way out is because the future is either a black hole or a blank canvas. So which is it for you right now? Is it a black hole or is it a blank canvas? Whichever one it is, doesn't really matter, but we need to take control of that. Either we need to shine some serious light into that hole and make it brighter, and then we need to add some color on if it's a blank canvas. So we need to throw as much color onto the future as we possibly can do. So how do you do that, Sarah? Well, what you do is you start thinking about all the things that you want to have. So you're shifting your focus from the now and the sad situation. Again, not diminishing the sad situation because it is sad, but we're trying to shift our focus. Sometimes you literally have to grab your head and wrench it to the side. Okay, literally you have to do that. So here we go. So one of the things to do that I would suggest is to write your breakup bucket list. Okay, you're only 58, Carol. So I mean, a lot of my clients are a lot older than you, and some of the other people on this call are a lot older than you. So you have your whole life ahead of you. Okay, so we have a decision to make, don't we? Does our breakup define us now forever? Is this something that we drag the baggage forward with us wherever we go? Or do we make a conscious decision? Now, I'm not saying this is easy, guys, but do we make a conscious decision? Say, I've had enough. I will not let that define me. Okay, you may have scars from your breakup. You may have emotional, physical, whatever scars from your breakup, but they do not have to define you and your future. You know, are you going to give your power away to your ex to define everything you're doing going forward? Are you going to do that? That's your decision. And, you know, there's no right or wrong in this, but I would suggest that if you're on this call, you're in massive pain and you want to change. So now is the time to start making decisions. Now, making decisions isn't enough in its own. We need to take massive action. So how do you take massive action? Well, first of all, you identify where the future is and we start to throw some color and shine some light on it. Okay, so what would you do? What can you do now that you could never have done in your breakup? You know, you spent 2 years here, Carol, thinking about things and stuck. Okay, and I know that he's taken so much away from his actions, and we're not diminishing that. I'm really not, because I know how difficult that is. But again, it's a choice. You either say, well, I can't possibly do anything, or you find a chink to be able to leave us some hope and get out. So what could you do that you could never have done, that excites you, that gets you really interested in what's going on, that actually starts to light a fire inside you so you want to move towards it? So I would definitely look at those things. I also would go on a bit of a journey of self-discovery, because it sounds to me, and this is super normal, by the way, and I'm sure there's lots of you out there who are listening here who know exactly what I mean, that we lose ourselves in relationships and we compromise who we are as individuals, and we become sort of a compromised version of ourselves. Now, in some relationships, it's healthy to compromise. In others, we're making sacrifices, those not so healthy, maybe toxic relationships. So where are you now? If you've come out of that, and I know you're hurt, and I know they've done things that are unkind, but are you seriously saying that you are going to let them affect you for the rest of your life? Because just because they've done certain things and it has had an impact financially, emotionally on you, does not mean that this is what life has to be like moving forward. And there's the shift. It's not like, well, this has happened to me, therefore this is the rest of my life. It could be, it is one option, but what I'm suggesting to you is take the other option, which is digging deep and doing certain things to move you forward. And we're going to cover a lot of those in this hour. So shifting your focus is one massive thing to do. Making small changes, again, around the home is again something that I would do. I know you've moved home because you lost your beautiful home. So now you're somewhere else. So what could you do to add into that something that makes it more beautiful for you? You know, ultimately, there's some things we can't control, but there are things we can control. We've got to focus our energy on those, especially when the world's going crazy right now with COVID-19. we can't control that. Okay, we control taking safety precautions, we can control 2 meters distancing, we can control sticking to the guidelines and staying at home. Yes, but we can't control what's going to happen in the long run to the country or to some of the people that really desperately need help right now. We can't control that. So worrying about it is not going to help. What we need to do is channel that energy into what can I do now? And we've all got lots of time on our hands to make some changes within our own lives. So even if that's detoxing out with the stuff that we've just been doing because we felt we ought to, like thinking about our ex, onto doing something positive, doing something that turns it around and moves you forward. Okay, so that's really interesting. What can you do now? You're detoxing out the stuff you don't want, maybe the people you don't want, those connections you don't want, doing the things that waste your time, getting rid of those, the things that hurt you. And now we're channeling our energy into, what do I want more of in my life? Who do I want to spend more time with? And if you don't know that person right now, great. It's a great time to start connecting and reaching out to find those people. But 58 is still young. 58 is really young. Okay, so 58 is no excuse to put the slippers on and the blue rinse. No. We need to dig deep here, Carol, and we need to power on through. And we're with you all the way. And I'm going to move on because we've got lots of questions, but hopefully that's helped you. Olivia, my partner and I lived together, but he wasn't happy as we moved away from his family. He has some issues with abandonment. As soon as we moved in together, he stopped being able to talk to me because he felt guilty. He wasn't happy and he blamed me. So I have low self-worth, and I took his withdrawing personally, and over time put my emotional barriers up. So we both moved that last June, although we tried to make it work with counselling as well, but he still remained distant. We moved 60 miles apart back to our hometowns and rarely saw each other. In January, decided we were too fragile, so he ended it. I can't stop thinking about him. I'm hurt he didn't want to try and I did. I'm hurt he didn't value our relationship as much as I did. Like, I'm just going to jump in there. We don't know that. He may have, I mean, I know you know him, okay, but sometimes when we're caught up in this, we can't see the reality and we're hard on ourselves. And it may be that he wanted to try, maybe he couldn't for some reason, or maybe it wasn't that he didn't value it, maybe he felt he had nothing more to give. Remember, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Okay, I'm a big believer in that. And sometimes people are there that are always going to be there, you know they're going to have your back. And people sometimes come in disguise and we think they're that person, and actually it turns out they're not. They're there for a reason, to teach us a lesson, to teach us something about ourselves that we need to suck up, because life will keep teaching us a lesson until we friggin' learn it, guys. So we've got to listen. You know, there must have been warning signs here. There must have been red flags. And what we do is we put on our rose-tinted glasses and we just carry on and ignore all the stuff that we know is there. That's how we get into these really, really, really tough situations, okay? That's how we get into them, because we ignore all the warning signs and we just plow straight ahead. Now, that's love, you know, falling in love, honeymoon periods. We're trying to gloss all those out. But what I'm saying is we need to learn from this, okay? There were signs, there always are signs. If you're not completely compatible, there will be glaring red sirens going off that you've ignored. So one of the techniques I would suggest you do is, firstly, we have to physically remove the rose-tinted glasses and get rid of them, okay? They don't serve us at all, and they won't serve you going into your next relationship. So we just ban those, okay? Ban the rose-tinted glasses. And so what we need to do is, again, refocus our mind, because what happens is we romanticize about our relationships, don't we? I mean, I've got emails every lots of people who are remembering the good times and struggling with to actually move on. But that's because we're wired in to remember all the good times. It's human nature. So all those, think about it just in general, the things that are worrying you right now, do you spend more time thinking about them or more time thinking about things you're grateful for? Most of us, I would say, if we're honest, spend most of our time thinking about the things that we're worried about, because they seem to sort of bulldoze to the front of your brain and play tricks with us. What we need to do is consciously take control of what's going on in here. We can't control other people. We can control what goes on in here. And what goes on in here affects us, how we feel, how much action we're going to take to change our situation, and where we ultimately end up. So take off the rose-tinted glasses, and one way to do that is to write a list of everything that you're not happy with in that relationship. that you're not happy with. Don't let anything sneak in that you're kind of happy with. No. All the things that, ranging from slightly frustrated you to really drove you insanely mad. Okay? And I want you to write a list. And if you're finding it hard, you're going to have to keep going, because there are things. And I know, again, it's your brain sort of protecting you. And sometimes our brain does this. It says, you're not ready to deal with this just yet, so I'm not going to let you face it. And then suddenly, when you feel a bit stronger, stuff will come up, which is why sometimes as you feel better and you think like you're moving on, you'll slide 2 steps backwards. Totally normal. Please don't think there's anything wrong or unusual about you. That is how the healing process goes. And I know there's somebody here whose mother has been saying, come on, don't cry, and all those things. It might have been, I can't remember who it was, sorry, but there was somebody, I'll come to the list. And, you know, sometimes that's really frustrating for other people who haven't been through it, or maybe it was such a long time ago they got their heart broken, they can't remember. But part of my job as a coach is I know that it's totally normal to go 3 or 4 steps forward and then come crashing back, because our body won't let us fully confront the whole picture until we're feeling strong enough. And then it'll feel like it's knocked you back, but actually it's just that you're stronger, so you're able to deal with a bit more. You let that out. It's like the grieving process. You let a little bit out, you release some of those emotions. Maybe you cry. It's super healthy to cry and let things out. Don't stuff it down. Don't start drinking more. Don't start having sex with random strangers. Don't start doing all those crazy things that some people do. And I've got the proof in here. Try and channel it into a more positive. So exercise is a great way to relieve stress. Whether it's a walk and you just move your arms, if you're not really a big gym bunny, or doing some Zumba class or even a yoga class, something that suits you. Because again, what works for you isn't going to work for your neighbour. So we've all got to figure out what our own strategy is for getting through. And interestingly enough, your strategy for coping with COVID, and Dawn, this is especially relevant for you as well, your strategy for coping with COVID, with isolation, especially if you're in the UK, I know some of you aren't, but for those of you that are in lockdown, whichever country you're in, think about it. The strategy that helps you hold it together, isolate, is exactly the same skill set that you will be using with a breakup. Forced into isolation, forced into separation from people we love, and having to learn to become more self-reliant, adapting our lifestyle to a different way of life, doing things differently because it's forced upon us. Now, you'll go through that as well as a breakup at the same time. Obviously, it's going to be a double whammy, but obviously everybody's in that boat of trying to learn to do things on their own more. So if you're single, you're on your own, you're isolating, you may not have recently been through a breakup, but you're still learning to adapt. Maybe if you're a single parent, I know some of you are, you're now the cook, the cleaner, the entertainer, the teacher, the emotional support, the PE teacher, you know, you are everything. You know, the story reader, the bath time person, you are everything, which is exhausting. And, you know, we always live our lives, and I can see from your emails, a lot of you are living your lives trying to be perfect, because if you're not, epic fail. But actually right now, putting yourself first and making sure that you're strong and you're the person that's holding it together, it's really important that you don't sacrifice yourself for other people at this point. Yeah, and that is a learning curve for a lot of people. If you're highly empathetic and you're upset by a breakup, it's probably because you're used to putting yourself second, and that right now is not going to work as a strategy for getting through this isolation. We need to be strong. You need to make sure that, you know, if you think, you know, the house looks dirty, for example, I've had that today in my Q&A at 2 o'clock. The house is looking dirty. Okay, the house is looking dirty, but don't clean the whole house because the house is looking dirty. Chunk it down. Do one room, or just do one corner, or tidy one area. And then, hey, tick a box, you've done a bit. You know, be happy with the small things right now. I think it's really important. Okay, so I hope, Olivia, that has helped you a bit. We're going to do more here that's going to be relevant with other questions. Someone else has said, my boyfriend and I broke up in January after 7 months together. This is anonymous. It was my first relationship following my divorce a year before. So this breakup felt much worse than my divorce. And the reason being because I worked really hard on myself in that year, built myself up again to make sure I was happy so I could meet the right person. Now, okay, that may be one of the reasons, because I don't know you, which is one of the difficulties of not having one-to-one coaching. But one thing I do see time and time and time again is that people going through breakups with their first serious relationship, not flings, but, you know, first serious relationship where you feel like you've fallen in love again, after a divorce. People that go through that breakup from that relationship, whether it's a couple of months or a year or so, or yeah, this one was 7 months, it hits you doubly hard. Now, why? Now, part of that might be that you felt, oh, good, I found somebody. You know, one of the things that I see in my clinic is that most people that come to me on the first session have 2 criteria for meeting a new partner. Just 2. First one, they have a pulse. And the second one, they show them one teeny sign of affection. And then we go into what I've termed limpet mode, where they sort of sucker themselves to this poor person and say, oh, I found love, no one's ever going to leave me now because I found love, I'm not going to be on my own ever again. Now, that is something that is super common because nobody wants to feel unloved, because it's a basic human need. So the first time someone comes along and shows you some affection and love, then obviously it's natural to want to be with that person. So almost it's a feeling of relief. So what happens in the breakup is you suffer that loss, but you're not only suffering that loss, because a lot of the time you've had enough time to process your actual divorce, which obviously the impact of that on your life is a lot bigger. So you're grieving obviously the end of that shorter relationship, a more intense relationship, which boosted your confidence and made you feel good about yourself again for a while and showed you that you could. But then what it does is it unearths some of those unresolved issues from your divorce. And if you do what most people do, which is stuff some of that divorce stuff down nicely so that you can move on with your life, it'll all come up. So it might appear that you're grieving that one relationship, but actually it is a combination of all the past relationship as well. And maybe I've got a client at the moment who's been married more than once and never really stopped to sort of process that. So that could be something that's happening right now. Struggle to, right, okay, so this lady, just to paraphrase, struggling to understand why it broke down. He also works as a clinical practitioner at A&E, so there's reminders all the time. She went on a dating app, dated somebody, and the ex found out, so there was no chance now, even though he made it clear. But this guy is messing with your head. Anyone that messes with your head, please deploy your parachute and get the hell out. Okay, please. It is a no-brainer. It's not up for discussion. It's not, maybe they'll change. You know, one of the things that I see in my clinic every day is that, and working one-to-one with people, is that people don't change. And quite often they will tell us exactly what they're like. So I had a client who said, oh, on the first date we went out and he said, oh, his mum always told him he was a bit selfish. And so she was glad when he moved out of home. He told her on date 1 that his mother thought he was selfish. Now, she said, oh, he can't be that bad if he's telling me. Obviously, he's sort of joking around, and she didn't take it seriously. But there it was, red flag number 1. He is selfish, and people close to him, his mother, who loves him more than anyone, I would imagine, says he's selfish. You know, again, this is classic rose-tinted glasses. So we need to see what's going on, and we need to take it and go, you know what, I deserve more than that. Because you do. You deserve to be treated just as well, if not better, than you treat other people. You know, we've all got different standards and different things we need and want from relationships. And this is something now that I think is really important for a lot of you. You need to take time to design your ideal partner. Now, I can hear it. Sorry, I'm not ready to date. I'm not ready to date. I know. I'm not suggesting you go straight out and start dating right now. But this exercise is designed for you to deep dive into what your ideal partner would be, okay, what they are. Because what we do as human beings is we know exactly what we want, don't we? I mean, I bet you can all tell me what you want from a partner. Tall, dark, handsome, short, blonde, blue eyes, whatever it is for you. And there's no right or wrong. It's just we know innately as human beings what we want. But where we fall short and where we open ourselves up to hurt time and time again is, what do you need? Not what do you want, what do you need? Because that's a very different thing. When you start to think about what you need, it just opens up a whole different thing, right? So think about it. If, for example, you, like my client the other day, she said to me, Sarah, I need a man in my life who is emotionally intelligent, who can talk about his emotions. Because we looked at her past relationships, her past little mini sort of breakup, and then her divorce before that. And we were looking at all the different things, and both of those men found it very hard to talk about their feelings. Now, she's definitely a sharer, okay? She shares all her feelings, and she wants to talk about her day, and she wants to hear about his day. And both the men she picked were not that. Physically, they were her type. They looked the part, they were very sort of masculine. She had a type, and they were exactly the type to look at. But actually, so what she wanted was ticked, but what she needed was not ticked, which meant that ultimately those relationships were not sustainable. So what do you need? And this is really important. Now I've got 2 books, and some of you I know have read both of them. Thank you for that. I hope they've helped. But I've got Uncoupling, which is more of sort of like a manual, and it's a fiction. So I talks through my story a little bit, which is quite entertaining. And then it also has the tips and techniques. And then I also have the Splits, which is a 30-day program from breakup to breakthrough. So it gives you an exercise to do each day. But in both of them, I cover my ideal partner exercise. This one, the Split, is available on Kindle right now for only £1, because I just want that information out there to help you. Okay, it's only £1. So you can download it on Kindle if you're into that. I mean, obviously you can get the hard copy if you want, but they're both available on Amazon. And I would really implore you that if you are in a situation where you keep attracting the wrong partner, to do this, because what it does is it looks at what you need, as well as the fun bits, what you want, and we put it all together. And then when you've got all that together, stated in the positives, so not you can't be stingy, or she mustn't be nagging, like she's got to be kind, or she's got to be generous, or stated in the positive. So you can blue sky scenario all the positive things that you want and you need, covering personality, hobbies, interests, they speak French, they have blue eyes, all that stuff, put them down, physical traits, also values, what's important to you, what values are important to you in a relationship. For some of you, it might be adventure. For some of you, it might be stability and security. Now, if you meet a guy who's got adventure and freedom on his list, and you've got security and stability on your list, can you see the problem? That doesn't mean it won't work. And this is the benefit of hindsight, looking back on other relationships. Maybe your values weren't aligned, so that it was easy for you to work together. If you've got someone that wants reliability, and you've got someone that wants stability, those 2 values go very nicely together, so it's going to be easier. It doesn't mean if you've got opposing values that can't work, it just means it's a hell of a lot harder, right? So these are things that we want to look at and just see, what have I attracted in the past? What have I gone for in the past? And maybe all those things you can still have, but you need to have in a couple of other extras, like emotionally intelligent, or able to talk about emotions, or happy to be there for me when I get sick. I mean, I know that there's people in here that haven't. One of the people that I've worked with for a long time, her ex-husband told her straight off that if she ever got ill like her mother had, then he wouldn't be able to be there for her. And she still went ahead and married this guy. So do you see where the red flags usually already flagged up for us, which is we don't want to see them. So the ideal partner or exercise, just to finish up on that, also has another layer, which is the most important part of this exercise. Okay, you can have 5, up to 5, no more than 5, but 5 must not haves. So what's a must not have, Sarah? Well, that is something that is a deal breaker. So for example, it might be something like they smoke, or they're lazy, or they lie, or they've cheated on a partner, or they have kids, or whatever it is for you. But these are deal breakers. So if you get a red flag, which means a signal that might be true, so for example, like the guy said that his mother said that he was selfish. If selfish is on your list, you deploy your parachute and you're out. No second chances, no thinking maybe he can change for me, maybe she'll get better over time, maybe when she learns who I am. No. Let's just cut through this. 5 must not have. These have to be absolute deal breakers. They can't be, well, he speaks French or she's got blue eyes. Guys, we can be flexible on those things. As on a lot of the list you can be flexible on, but not on these. These 5 must not haves are absolute deal breakers, and it's going to protect you. So it's going to protect you so you can date again with confidence, so that you know that you are dialing down the risk of you getting hurt. Of course, there's no magic wand to take away all the pain. There's some really good con men and women out there that are going to trick you. And also, you may want to strap on your rose-tinted glasses with duct tape from time to time. But what I want you to be aware of, not unconsciously, but consciously, is your list. Because the more you're consciously aware of it, the more you can control it, and the more you can then make decisions for you. It might be, remember, that the person that you're going to date is just Mr. or Miss right now. It doesn't have to be Mr. Right or Miss Right. Don't put all that pressure on yourself. It doesn't have to be. It can just be reason or a season. It doesn't have to be a lifetime. Just remember that, okay? But as long as you're honest with your communication, you say, I'm not really looking for a relationship, and you put it on the line, and you say that, and you keep your boundaries, and you stick to that. It's up to you. It's your decision. You're adults, okay? And that is the most important thing, is that you are in control of your decision making. You're just not battered and going along with things because someone suggests something, or you feel you should, or they've shown you a sign of affection and they have a pulse, importantly. Right, okay, so my question is, how do I stop obsessing over my ex? Again, this is about shifting your focus, okay? It's about answering those questions. So we all have questions that go round and round in our head. How can I get her back? What did I do wrong? Why aren't I good enough? Maybe if I hadn't done that, then this could have happened. Now, these are what I call hamster wheel questions. Hamster wheel because they just take you round and round and round in circles and don't take you any further forward at all. They don't help. In fact, they are disempowering questions. And what happens if you feed your brain with a disempowering question? It will come up with a disempowering answer. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm playing another game if you like. I want you to try not to think of the answer to this question. Okay, I don't want you to think of the answer. So is everyone clear? I don't want you to think of the answer to this. What is the capital of France? Okay, I know you all thought Paris. I know it came in your head. You might have tried to push it away. You might be pretending you didn't, but you did. Your brain is wired that way. If you ask a question, it has to come up with an answer. Okay, it may not be the right one. Some of you might have said Rome. I don't know. But it will come up with an answer. Now, this is the trick. If you ask yourself a disempowering question, your brain has to then come up with answers. And because it's a disempowering, negative, sort of angled question, guess what the answers are going to be? Disempowering and negative. So, for example, your brain will come up with things, might not be the right answer, but they might be saying things like, oh, well, you're a bit boring. Or do you remember that time when you did this? Or, maybe you're not as skinny as his ex-girlfriend, or maybe you're not as attractive as his last boyfriend. You know, whatever it is for you, your brain will come up with answers, but negative questions in will give you negative answers. So what I'm asking you to do, and it's kind of a challenge, is to try and shift that to asking yourself a better question, a more empowering question that's going to take you forward. Okay, so that could be, what can I do right now to make this a little bit better? Now, can you see how asking yourself that gives you a whole different set of answers? So you're going to get answers that aren't going to work. You might say, well, you need to go and visit your Auntie May. Well, you can't go visit your Auntie May right now. So that's not going to work. But at least it's giving you answers. You could FaceTime your Auntie May, potentially. You could go visit somebody else. Do you see what I mean? It's opening different avenues, and it's shifting your focus away from the negative, which keeps you stuck, keeps you re-anchored to those negative emotions, and starts moving things forward. Yes, you can share this link with your friend who needs to be on this webinar. Absolutely, you can. Yeah. She can go through and register, I think, or she can. I'm actually streaming it on Instagram Live for any of you that want to get friends in. Let's have a look. Carol says, thanks for your help with your answer. I was an ambulance first responder in dementia care, so I miss that. Has that stopped for health reasons? I need to find different things to do. It hurt when you said the other woman was healthy. Yes, of course it did. And these people are just unkind. But I always say that unkind people are not happy people. And again, you can't change him. And to be honest, you're better off without people that are unkind to you, guys. How many times do you have to learn that lesson? You know, I mean, some of you are in physically violent relationships. Some of you are in emotionally unkind relationships. And some of you are just with people who are just not very nice to you. You know, whatever it is, we've got to find a way of getting you out of that safely, because you deserve better. You absolutely deserve better. And as someone that has survived a toxic relationship, I can tell you that the life on the other side, whilst transitioning is hard and there's a recovery process you have to go through, it is part of the process. And there is life out there, whether you're 65, 79 or 23, please, we need to get you a plan to get out if you're stuck. Okay, so Kevin, thank you, Kevin. You put here that I normally work. Oh no, it's not you. There's another guy who's come in saying I mainly deal with women. That's cool, but I don't. I work with men and women, so no, it's all good. How do I deal with still feeling love for my estranged wife and want her to be back when I've suffered mental and physical abuse from her for so long? Okay, if you suffered abuse from somebody, that means that you are wired in a certain way to miss them. Okay, it's almost like an addiction to being treated badly by that person. Okay, so there's that kind of link there that is a kind of, they reel you in and then they spit you out, and they reel you in and then they spit you out. And it's kind of a well-known pattern. Like, they're usually, abusers are textbook. They follow set patterns. If you want to know more about this, on my website, saradavisondivorcecoach, there is a button that says, am I in an abusive relationship? If you click on that, it will give you access to free videos. Again, it's all free. You can go in and just watch the videos about what is an abusive relationship, what is domestic abuse, because it can be just emotional, or I mean, that can be even more painful than actual physical bruises in cases, but emotional, sexual, financial. I know some people here have been controlled financially, ruined financially. As part of the emotional control, it's part of dragging someone through the family court system. It's part of all the abuse, as well as the physical side as well. So there's so many parts, but the free videos will give you a step-by-step. Why do we get in? Why do we stay? How to recognize the red flags, how to get out safely. And again, getting out safely is important. Reach out to your local domestic abuse charity, whether that's Women's Aid, whether it's Refuge, whether it's the Dash charity, which I'm lucky enough to be the patron of. They do amazing work. So check out your local domestic abuse charity. Call the domestic abuse hotline number, which you'll find on Google, the domestic abuse hotline number. There is lots of help out there right now. Call the police, okay? You've got to keep safe, that's the number one. So also, just to give you a bit more, Kevin, there is a guy called Richard Grannon, Grannon, Richard Grannon. He's an amazing guy, a friend of mine, and I met him because he invited me to speak at Birkbeck University with him and Dr. Sam Vaknin, what to call him. We did an event called Divorcing the Narcissist on YouTube. Richard specializes in difficult people. So I know there's a lot of you who emailed in saying difficult people. So I would suggest that you watch some of his videos. Please don't get sucked into the vortex cesspit that is all these forums by so-called experts in this area. There are some people that know their stuff, and Richard is a psychologist. So ologists, iatrists, they know their stuff. You know, coaches like me, I've been in a toxic relationship. I've learned how to manage it, but I learned a lot from experts like Richard. What you need to know is that it's textbook behavior. So you need to understand their patterns, because whether you like it or not, you're in a game with them. These people play a game. It's textbook. So understand the game, master the game, learn the rules, and be 2 steps ahead. That is the only way to feel sane, keep your sanity, and to dial down the negative emotion. If you want to follow someone who's really good on Twitter, there's rwatson_insights, rwatson_insight. And that's, her name's Rachel Watson on Twitter. So you'll be able to find her. She's got an amazing book called How to Annihilate a Narcissist in the Family Court. So that might be helpful to some of you, but she's awesome. And she's a survivor too. I don't give legal advice, so some of these questions I've got are legal advice. In my books, I talk about functionally friendly. Now, functionally friendly is a technique that I developed for managing co-parenting with people that are difficult. I call them difficult. Some people call them narcissists or blah, blah, blah. There's a big spectrum of it. So I'm hoping that you're getting stuff from all these answers, guys, because I'm trying to weave in so many techniques and strategies for you throughout this. So hopefully it's helping. Functionally friendly is a technique where if you have to be present for your kids for something, handovers, drop-offs, school events, although not many of those going on right now, but whatever it is, it's a way of zipping up a Teflon suit around you. So imagine that you've got a Teflon suit on, and what I mean by that is that you're covered head to toe, protected, and sometimes it helps to actually zip it up, okay? Like imagining it's there, imagine how the color and the texture, because that will protect you, Okay, you can give out love and kindness, but no badness, and you can receive it, but nothing bad or negative can get through. It's kind of like water off a duck's back. So it's kind of a technique that I developed to help you keep your Teflon suit on. So it's about being friendly, but not oversharing, not giving any personal information, focusing on a couple of simple things that you can help you get through that are top level, not deep, that will help you get through those sort of environments where you have to meet. They might try and take a pot, they might try and say something nasty, like yours they will, but just smile. Okay, it's almost like you have to become a bar of soap that they can't get their fingers into, their claws into. You know, you just keep going. Oh, that's nice. Oh, thanks very much. Oh, interesting. I'll have to think about that. Thanks very much. You know, that's the attitude. I know it's not as easy as I've just demonstrated, but years of practice will get you there. And, you know, actually just trying it and assimilating a different way of doing it, rather than going in timid, that gives off the sign that you're weak and vulnerable, which you may be, but it's about acting as if with your Teflon suit on, so that it just bounces off you, okay? And not letting them see that they're upsetting you, because letting them see they're upsetting you will, in a lot of cases, spur them on. And what we want to do is block them out, okay? So it's almost like bad behavior with a child. You just don't reward bad behavior, and eventually they get a bit bored. It's not quite as simple as that with these difficult people, but it is a successful technique. So do check that out, Functionally Friendly, in my books. Again, people move on to start dating, guys. It's nothing about you. It's just all about them. And actually, one of the interesting things about breakups is that you are at different stages. If you have been dumped, it is because that person has reached the point where they don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. But don't think that just happened. I know there's another lady who's written about this, about it gets to the end of a relationship, suddenly it's like suddenly gone. One day everything changed. But actually what's happened is that person's been going through the process that you are now going through, slightly different in some ways, but you know, they're trying to work out, can I be with this person? Can I make it work? Let's have a go. Well, that didn't work. Well, let's try something else. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I'll tolerate. No, I won't. Yes, I will. They've gone through that process and got to breaking point, which is why quite often there is no going back. There's no, well, why have you just suddenly left me? Why have you suddenly disappeared? Can't we work at it? Can't we talk? And that's what I mean. Some partners are not emotionally intelligent or capable of being able to discuss and be open about things when they're going wrong. They'd rather just jump ship and find something else. And look back to patterns. I know one of you said that you met him when he was separated from his previous wife, and he left her with a 3-year-old. You know, there is a track record here, guys. Again, rose-tinted glasses. You need to see, if they can do it to her, they can do it to you. If he's done it to, if she's done it to another partner, she can do it to you. Again, people don't change fundamentally like that, really. You know, I mean, of course, there's examples where relationships fell apart or whatever, but if you're really honest, there is a higher chance if someone has a track record of doing it, because they know they can get through it and they can be happy again. So it's just important to be aware of that. It's not about you, it's often about them. And they will be at that switch flicking moment where they're like, I'm done, I'm out, a lot before you are. Okay, a lot before you are. So this is the important thing. So they've gone, you're left feeling bewildered. Why don't they want to talk? Why can't we save it? The reality is that they left a long time ago from that relationship. They tried, and this was their breaking point. So that's why sometimes you're a bit out of sync. Okay, other people are asking me about challenges with going backwards and forwards with co-parenting during this time. I can't give you legal advice because that's not what I do. Okay, what I can say is there's plenty of legal advice out there. Go and ask for legal advice if you need it. Okay, get your advice from a lawyer. Do the best you can. What I do know about child arrangements at the moment is that you've got to do, there's government advice and there's legal advice. Okay, if you've got a court order, you're going to be expected to hold up to that. And if you're not able to hold up to it, you're going to need to have evidence, detailed evidence to back up why you haven't. Okay, because there might be a punishment, well, there will be some sort of punishment, I'm sure, if you haven't, if the courts have time to go through it all. So ultimately, to keep yourself safe from those situations, make sure you're following the legal advice. So speak to a lawyer or an advisor, check out the government advice. And then also your own, you know, if you're living with elderly relatives and your kids going backwards and forwards, that might be a reason. I don't know, because I don't give legal advice, but it might be a reason. It gives you some sort of strength in saying, I don't want my child going backwards and forwards because of their danger to the elderly, which again, they can't go out. They shouldn't be mixing with people. So there's lots of different things there, but I can't give you legal advice, unfortunately. So you're going to have to get that from somebody that's much more qualified than me. Do watch The Family Lawyer, at The Family Lawyer, Laura Nasser. She's doing quite a few free Instagram meetings with different legal professionals. I did one with her last night at 8 p.m. That's still probably on her Instagram live if you want to check it out, on her stories. But also there is, she's doing them most nights at 8 p.m. So she is someone to follow, at The Family Lawyer, Laura Nasser. She might be able to give you some help on those things. Okay, 2 boys aged 12 and 9 struggling to know where to start. Basically, her husband left her. I've got a very long email, which I can't read that because obviously I want to crack through. But the gist of it is, this lady was left, and it was horrible. You know, it was horrible. She's been left and is really stuck. Again, you know, you're going to go backwards and forwards on that loss cycle. Sometimes you're going to feel okay about things, and sometimes you're going to fall back. That's normal, but loved ones, I think it was you, Dawn, that mentioned about your mum. You know, loved ones don't necessarily understand that. They just think, oh, you were okay yesterday, don't waste your tears. They feel sometimes that by being strong and harsh on you, that's helping. And kind of in a way, it is. It's them showing their love, but they just don't want to see you upset. Saying things like, get a grip, don't let him see you downtrodden. Absolutely, please don't let him see you downtrodden. I know that's hard, but you're going to have to Teflon suit it up to the eyeballs and above. Okay, please don't let them see. Please, because this is you, this is your dignity, this is who you are as a woman. Okay, you need to heal. We need to give you those techniques so that you can heal. But you are early on in that curve. You know, you're in the shock and the overwhelm stage, and you're getting through it fast, because I know you're jumping on all my calls, and I know you're involved in it, and you know, hopefully I think you're reading my books. Those things will help you. Feeding your brain with this stuff as much as you can in the early days will help take the edge off, help you to dial down those negative emotions. So please keep going. It is important that you do that. Okay, please keep going with that. Richard's last name is Grannon, Granon. Richard Grannon. He's on YouTube. You won't really find him. He's not very good on other channels, but he does a lot on that. Okay, Linda, my friend is in a 25-year relationship. Thanks, Julia. Thank you. My friend is in a 25-year relationship, and a few months ago found her husband to be seeing another woman on and off for 2 years. She's had couples counselling, and they're now separated, but debating about trying again together. He won't agree definitely not to see other women again. Should this be a condition of getting together again? Guys, what do you think? You know, look, some people, there's no judgment, because everyone has different morals, different values. Some people are like, if you cheat, you're out. Okay, I can't trust you. I can't trust you, therefore I'm out. Other people are like, maybe we can resurrect this. Okay, but there have to be boundaries. Now, boundaries, guys, I want to talk to you about boundaries. It affects all of you. So please listen up to this, because it's really important. Boundaries, I want you to imagine that you've got a brick wall that you've built, like a fresh brick wall. When you get into a relationship, your boundaries are made up of individual bricks in this new brick wall, and that represents what acceptable behavior is to you. Okay, so this brick wall is what acceptable behavior in a relationship is to you. So you want to be treated with, for example, kindness, respect, all that kind of thing. And then what happens? Someone comes along, sweeps you off your feet, and you start to compromise on your boundaries. So an unhealthy compromise. So for example, maybe they call you a name. Out comes a brick from your wall. So your brick wall is now like that, a hole in it. And then you don't do anything because you're highly empathetic. You think, oh, I don't want to rock the boat, and they've had a bad day. And okay. So what happens is that hole stays there. Now, we all have friends, don't we? All of us. My mom's particularly, I'm thinking of, she's called Carla. If someone does that to us, or if someone did that to her, to Carla, she'd tell them to sling the hook immediately. Immediately. She'd be out of there, deploy parachute, poof, she'd be off. Okay? We need to be a bit more like Carla, because the more your bricks come out, the less your boundaries stand up, which means the more you're open to people treating you in a way that isn't kind or respectful. But by enabling it, and I know you're not doing it consciously in a way that is helping, you're not doing it because it's not your fault, but you are responsible for allowing those bricks to come up and not standing your ground saying that's not acceptable, I'm afraid. So we've got to know very clearly what is acceptable behavior. This guy is saying he still wants to maybe see the other woman. I'm sorry, if that is acceptable behavior to your friend, then yes, you should go ahead. But I don't think that is setting up. If he's not willing to make any sacrifices to make it work, then I would say it's built on shaky foundations. But maybe this is a process your friend needs to go through so she can come out and say, I tried everything. You know, I tried everything. She's got to be consciously aware, though, that if he's not prepared, the chances of her working are slim. The chances of him seeing her still behind his back are high. Okay? Because every time that brick comes out, he's saying, I want to take out a whole chunk of wall here, gap. Are you okay with that? And if she says, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that, that's where the boundaries now stay. You can't go putting bricks in. It's super hard in that same relationship to rebuild that wall. It's super hard. So it's going to be a tough one for us. And that's why I'm saying just be careful, because I would be very wary of that. And, you know, sometimes people have to go on their own journey and they won't listen to advice from friends. They have to go on their own journey and get their heart broken. But being supportive, being there for her, absolutely support her, whatever she decides to do. We can't tell people what to do. Think of all the times your friends have said, ooh, do you really want to date that person? And you've gone, yeah, oh, I'm not going to speak to him for a while, I'm not going to speak to her for a while. And then you sort of come calling back going, yeah, okay, didn't work out, you were right, you know. So, you know, you've got to remember that everyone has to go on their own journey, and maybe this is part of her learning that this man really isn't right for her. So I hope that's helped. Paul, I appreciate you dealing mainly with women. I'd like help with dealing with the lack of closure from psychological and financial abuse of my wife. Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of problems here with that. I know the police are involved, and your wife's being super unkind to your parents as well. Again, one of the things I would suggest anyone, and then there's another one here from Angel, how can someone deal with domestic and child abuse during lockdown? I mean, please phone the police, get support, ring your local domestic abuse hotline, Women's Aid, Angel, or I don't know where you're based, but wherever you're based, please reach out and get that help. If you're not sure what to do, email me, sarah@saradavisondivorcecoach, and I will try and point you in the right direction. But please, please, please get help, because if children are involved as well, it's one thing for us, it's a whole other thing for kids. And, you know, there's a fine line between seriously putting yourself and your children in danger and making a calculated decision. Now, what I would say is that you know best what's going to put you at risk. So there is no one solution fits all. Like some people I've heard saying, you know, you must leave and you must, you've got to think about what is best for you and your child's safety wise, because you know, there's so many complications with abusive relationships that it's not right for anyone to make an assumption and give advice, especially with just like a one-word question. But make sure you've got the support around you that you need. And Paul, you know, go and listen to Richard Grannon. Richard also has coaches that specialize in abuse. I have coaches that specialize in abuse. So if you are interested in one-to-one coaching, because generic coaching is very difficult with abusive situations, because every situation is so difficult, and it really is one of those super difficult issues that kind of help on a big platform like this. And it really needs more sort of tailored advice. But I hope that's helped and given you somewhere at least to go to find the help. Okay, I've been listening to podcasts falling asleep. This one's been working for me. Can you recommend? I hope you're not falling asleep listening to me. Okay. Yeah. Paul McKenna's I Can Make You Sleep book. Buy it as an audio book, and there's one chapter in there which is the double induction hypnotic trance, which will help you relax. So it may not always put you to sleep. It can do. It does sometimes for a lot of people, but at least it will help you relax, which is important. I'm finding this difficult. Best time is taking the kids with him and the woman who's cheating me on. It's a situation I need to accept, but it's hard, specifically being far from my country with the virus. I'm worried about what they eat, about everything. Maybe the most healthy thing to do is let it go his way, but it's very hard, and I feel controlling a bit. Okay, so listen, again, it is really hard when your kids go and spend time with someone you've cheated. I've got lots of clients in that situation, so they've had affairs and then the kids have to go and be with them, and I was in that situation many years ago, and I know how heartbreaking it is. But guys, we cannot control other people, what they do, what they feed them, what time they put them to bed. Okay, you've got to think of the bigger picture. Okay, you've got to think of what's best for your kids. It's best for them to have a relationship with both parents, and you've got to think about the impact on them. So the trick is to put as much as you can into being safety. So maybe write a list of things that they like to eat, you know, this is what their favorite meals are, you know, this is what time they normally go to bed. You can write it all down if it makes you feel better, and send it with them. Okay, whether your ex or not is going to use it or not, who knows? And you can't control that, so you can't worry, but at least you've done your best. Okay, it might make you feel better if you've done that, especially if your kids are young and can't express things for themselves. You know, you are, as parents, as mother or father, you know, nobody else can ever take your place. Okay, a girlfriend or a boyfriend will not take away your role from them. You have to trust in your bond with your kids. Okay, and the fact that you're worrying about it shows that you are a caring person. So please don't worry, that is not going to change that. What I would say specifically though is that, you know, it's about you using that time constructively when they're not there, because actually just letting this go on is, you know, and you just sitting there worrying about it. You've got to do something. You've got to have a plan. When that door shuts and the kids are gone, what are you doing? You know, now you can't just jump in the car and go out. Or you could make that your weekly supermarket run, or you could say, right, I'm going to go for a run now, or a walk, or, you know, I'm going to put on my Davina exercise workout or my Zumba class like I did on Instagram the other day. You know, whatever it is for you, think of something to constructively move you forward, please, because that's the difficult bit, is when the door shuts and you're on your own. And this is where we need to take control of what's going on in here. I write more about that in my book, Uncoupling, if that helps anybody. Okay, and I'm just trying to find the last questions. I know some of you are dropping them into the chat box. Please can you advise me on how to restore my self-confidence? Yes. So first of all, you've got to do things to make yourself feel good. So what makes you feel good about you? Okay, we've got to really dig deep. So I want you to make more of an effort with little things, because you do have to make an effort. Okay, if you're saying in your old tracksuit with holes, your t-shirt with holes in, your hair up all over the place, oh, I feel terrible, I don't feel very confident, I don't think I'm attractive. Hey, you know, there's a reason for that. So you've got to spend some time looking after yourself, okay? And people say the exterior, that's shallow, but actually this is all little tools. Everything I teach you is little tools stacked one on top of the other, okay? It's little tools stacked one on top of the other. So actually it's coming up to 8 o'clock, so I know I've got more to go through. I know some of you are finding this helpful. So what I will say is at 8 o'clock, I'm going to go for a minute, clap, and then I'm going to come back and carry on, okay? So if you want to do that too, please feel free to do that, but it's important that we acknowledge the NHS this time. But I will come back, so I'll be gone for like 60 seconds, and then I'll be back. So hopefully you guys will come back and still join me, because I know a lot of you will want to go and do that too. And I don't want that to stop me from giving you the information that you need and that is helping you. Okay, so yeah, so confidence. So the little things about how you look are important. So make that effort, you know, especially now when we're losing our daily routine of getting up and going to work, or doing the school run, or, you know, things that we're used to sort of hooking our day around. Now things are different. So it's important to have a routine so that you've still got a flow to your day. Okay, it could be a different routine. It doesn't have to be getting up at 6 o'clock anymore, but it could be getting up at 9 o'clock, but still having a routine, you know, and making sure that the kids as well, if you have kids, are joining in at certain times throughout their day, are anchored to set timings and set things that will help them as well. So little things will help make a difference. So take care about your appearance. Make sure that that is something that's good. Also, write down things that you want to get better at. If there's something that you think I'm not very good at, then actually this is the time to start to get good at it. We've got time now. So if it's cooking, or if it's, I don't know, dancing or whatever, this is the time now where you can start to improve on some of those areas that really you think, oh, I'm not very good at that. Maybe if you're overweight, this is a great time to start doing some exercise every day, regularly, to see if you can shift some of that weight, to start cooking healthier meals. So what I'm saying is, don't run away from the things that scare you. This is something we talked about today at 2 p.m. on my Instagram live chat, where, you know, a lot of us will run away from things that upset us and scare us, and what we really need to do is face them head on. So if you're worried about your weight, face it head on. Don't just deny it. Just say, okay, I need to look at that. That's affecting my confidence and how I feel about myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and do something about it. Instead of running away, stuffing it, thinking about something else, I'm going to face it, bring it on like the bully in the playground, eyeball to eyeball. What can I do? And little by little, those things will come back. Self-reliance is also really important, which is where you build those muscles of not running straight away to ask your mum or your friends the answer to a problem. I want you to start solving your own problems yourself. I want you to feel more empowered by taking your control back and making those decisions of how you can start to feel more empowered. So this is self-resilience. It's not the first time you do it. It's, you know, it's about building those muscles so that you get stronger. Because as we all know, it's 8 o'clock. Go and clap for the NHS, and I'll see you back in 60 seconds. Hello, we're still there. Some of us are still today. Great. Okay. So it was really nice to do that, wasn't it? I mean, gosh, what an amazing job they're doing. Thank you to anyone on here who's NHS, because seriously, guys, amazing work you are doing. So I was talking about self-reliance and about how that builds your muscle, right? So I think I just lost everyone on Instagram. But anyway, sorry about that, guys. So what I would say is that self-reliance is important, and it's something that we're learning because we're adapting to being in isolation. For some of us that are on our own in isolation, we're having to learn how to do that and build those muscles, okay? But one of the things I would say is that if we, I'm just going to try and get them back, because I know some of them had questions. So what I would say is that when you're building your self-reliance, what is important is that you start to learn to trust your own instinct again. Because what you're going to do is, instead of running to your friend that you would always go for the answer to the question, oh gosh, what would I do? And it could be something little like, you know, something, the light bulb's gone, or the fuses have gone, or something like, you know, which you would normally say go to your ex-partner for, and now you can't, you know, or maybe something about your health that you would normally speak to them about, and now you can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to, how would you solutionize that yourself? Okay, this is really important. How would you find the solution to that yourself? And once you start to find that solution, you can sort of run it through in your head, then sound check it off your mum or your friend. You know, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying in that moment, in that absolute moment, it's important that you ask yourself first, and then you go back. Okay. Hello, Victoria. So I've lost my Instagram live when we went out to clap for the NHS. Now some of them are coming back on, which is great. Thank you, guys. And the webinar guys are still here, so thank you for that. Okay, so Paul, if you're still there, I hope I've answered your question there for you. I know it's a bit of a tricky one. And Nuria, I hope, yeah, okay, she says, I have answered her question, which is really good. If anyone else has any questions that they want me to answer while I am on, please do drop it down, because I think I'm kind of coming to the end of a lot of the questions that I think I've covered. Yeah, how do I deal with yeah, so I think I have actually covered a lot of your questions, and I have gone through a lot of the things that you're asking me. Let me just check in chats and just see. Yeah, you know what, sometimes it feels like there is no justice, and I know that sometimes it can be really, really tough, okay? But ultimately, going through a breakup makes you stronger. Going through these tough times builds that muscle, which will steer you as you go on. Also, for those of you who are parents, you know, kids learn and bounce back so much faster from difficult situations if they've experienced a little bit, not huge amounts of suffering, but small amounts of suffering. There's scientific research that show if kids have gone through tough times, they actually absorb that and actually use it to make better decisions. And if our kids can be empowered by the way that we've taken on our breakup, the way that you've got through it, and the important thing is not to stuff down emotions and hide them away. It's not to do that. I don't want you to stuff them and say, oh no, mummy's not upset, daddy's not upset. It's important that you address and say, look, I'm feeling sad. Or, you know, try and get specific with the emotion, because if you can get specific with it, then you can delve in and start to dial down. When you're lumping everything together, it's a lot harder to work through those different emotions. So that was something that I would definitely say. Try and get specific about the emotion that you're experiencing, but then say to your kid, I'm feeling a bit sad. And then when they say, okay, and then obviously you don't want to give them the raw emotion, but you can say, you know, I'm feeling a bit sad right now. So what can we do to cheer me up? And then you can give them the technique to cheer yourself up. Okay, now that could be 5-star jumps. For anyone that follows me, you know I'm a big fan. Just 5-star jumps changes your state instantly. Okay, it's really important. Also, things like changing your body language. So maybe you're sitting down listening, or you're hunched over, just to shift in shoulders and put your head up, and a smile also triggers a lot of positive emotions. Also, listening to your favorite song. Everyone should have a power song for getting through their breakup, by the way. Do you have a power song? You need a power song. Everyone needs a song. What's a power song? A power song is when you choose a piece of music that the lyrics mean something to you. They motivate you. They kind of give you that extra oomph, so that whatever you're feeling, and music is very powerful, can really transcend through some really tough moods. So actually, if you can kind of get into a really powerful song, so for example, Titanium is a good one for me. That got me through my breakup. I Will Survive, someone popped on when I was talking about this the other day on one of my 2 p.m. weekday chats on Instagram Live. So, you know, what is your power song? What gets you back up, standing up and tough? Because sometimes you're going to feel like you just want to get back into bed, pull a duvet over your head and eat crisps. Maybe that's just me. But that's sometimes what we do. You know, we all have our thing where we go, oh, I just can't cope anymore, it's too much. And that's human nature. Okay, so please don't beat yourself up. Please, please. Oh, the sun is rising. Excellent. Yeah, great. So, you know, what I want you to know, that sometimes it's going to be tough. It's not always going to be 2 steps forward. It's not always going to feel like a great day. And using the techniques that I've shared with you in this webinar are actually, you know, the things that you won't feel like doing it. When it's going to have the biggest difference, when it's going to build the most muscle, is when you're going to want to get back into bed, pull the duvet over your head. Okay, they're the moments where you have to go, I really hate Sarah right now, but I'm going to try the 5-star jumps thing, and then be honest. You know, you can always go back to feeling crap and getting back into bed if you want to. What I'm suggesting to you is you make a decision right now. You know, you make a decision. I know it's tough, I know it's not straightforward, but you owe it to yourself. And if you have kids, especially, that you're not gonna let this one breakup define the rest of your life. It cannot be responsible for a grey cloud that follows you around. You have to take back your ownership. You have to start getting back in the driving seat of your own life. You know, you've got to be the leading lady or the leading man in your own life, for God's sake. Okay, it's important. And how do you do that? Well, it's small steps. It's taking these techniques and strategies that I've shared with you, all these different things that I've packed into this hour and a bit of questions that you've sent me very kindly, so that I can have the opportunity to help you. But all these different techniques, you know, they all stack up. They're simple, and on their own, it's not gonna change everything. Unfortunately, there is no magic wand to take away all the pain. But this does work. You know, it worked for me when I went through a really difficult breakup, which is why I created all this stuff. It works. I'm training now coaches. I have over 65 coaches, people that are like you guys, who have been through tough times, who want to give back and help other people with their story. So again, that's another way of using your experience to go back and help other people. Because the reason I do this is because I had a really tough time, and I didn't want anyone to go through and feel as bad as I did. And when I figured out there were some of these things that really work, these little shifts that you can make. When I was a coach at the time when it happened to me. So I already had the coaching techniques. I just kind of combined it with my personal divorce experience. And that's why I'm sharing these with you now, because this stuff works and it transforms lives. It's up to you now to make the decision. Are you going to sit there and accept what's gone on? And is that going to define the rest of your life? Or are you going to start now throwing bucket loads of colour at this blank canvas, or shining this brightest light into the black hole that represented your future, which now already is starting to change? Just the fact that you're here on this webinar, the fact you stuck it out still, and it's 9 minutes past 8, and you're still here, you know, it shows me that you are determined to make a difference. You want to take your control back. You want to feel better. And if you do, then, you know, be kind to yourself on the journey, because it's not always straightforward. And sometimes you're going to think, oh, I should have done that then and I didn't, or I screwed that up. It's okay. At least you're understanding your behavior. You're taking control back. You now move your behavior from unconscious to conscious behavior. And that's important. When you suddenly get to actually knowing what you're doing consciously, you can then take control back of it. You can decide if you want to carry on saying Mr. Right Now, even though he's got some of your must not haves, which means you should deploy your parachute, get the hell out of there. You can decide, because you're an adult, but you can do it consciously. And hopefully the fact that you're doing it consciously will make you realize, actually, you know what? I know that I'm not going to get heartbroken because I'm never going to let myself fall for this person. Like, be wary of that, especially if you're vulnerable. But, you know, these things are your decisions. What I'm doing is I'm giving you a toolkit of information that will empower you to cope better with the situation. And I know, given COVID-19, everything is a lot harder, but these are transferable life skills. You know, cheering yourself up, doing 5-star jumps, doesn't just have to be about being upset about your breakup. It could be that you're upset about the change in your lifestyle to do with COVID-19. So I think it's really important. Finding difficulty finding myself. I was 38 years of being a mum and gradual empty nesting, 117-year-old at home. Husband, yeah, I don't know my direction. Yeah, you see, this is the thing. If you have, we need to dig deep. You know, go back. This is recorded, this webinar, so I am going to put it up on my Facebook, and I'm going to put it up on Instagram if I can. It might be a big file for that, but it'll be on YouTube as well. But what I would say is, you know, go back through, because I've given you lots of tips of how you can start to take your control back. I've given you lots of tips and ideas of how you can start to throw colour at this. Do things differently. Make me a promise that tonight you're going to leave this webinar and go and do something different. Okay? Maybe you're going to swap the forks where the knives were in the cutlery drawer in your house. I know it sounds tiny, but I promise you it will have a big effect. Okay? One, because you'll be going, where? What? Oh, you know, for the next couple of weeks. But also it puts you back in control. It does put you back in control. Okay? You need to make some small changes to change the situation. If you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same results. So we need you to do something different. You need to make a decision to take some action. And that action isn't always going to be easy, but it's something that you need to do to break through. But I promise you, take small steps every day. It will get easier. You will get your momentum, and it will get easier. I promise you that. You know, looking back on this, you're going to come out with a whole new set of skills, life skills that you can then use not only for yourself, but with your friends and family and children, but also in other difficult situations that come up in the future. So believe you me, this is all going to have a silver lining for you, and you're going to come through this stronger and happier. Okay, so I will post the link to this. It will be on my YouTube, Sarah Davison Divorce Coach. It will be on my Facebook, and I will put it wherever I can, so you will have it. Also, if you're on my mailing list, I will send that out as well. So if you want to be on the mailing list, you can just sign up to anything on my homepage, my free guide or something like that, and you'll be on my mailing list. But I hope this has helped. I really do, because it's been a great pleasure, and thank you so much for honouring me with your time tonight and for coming back after the NHS cut. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you feel motivated. I'm glad that I've helped, and I do hope that you watching it back find it useful and it takes you forward. Big hugs. Mwah. Please stay safe, everybody, and keep in touch. You know where I am. If you need help, please reach out. Okay, lots of love. Bye bye.